This is a civilization restoration file from the year 3026. Human Civilization Archives, Episode 6. File number A21-006. Subject: a scaled mammal that 21st century humans called the pangolin. It was the most trafficked mammal ever recorded. We found it in custom seizure databases. Between 2016 and 2024, over 500,000 pangolins worth of products were seized globally. And that was only what was intercepted. By estimate, approximately 2.7 million pangolins were poached annually in Africa alone, roughly one every 3 minutes. It was the only mammal on Earth covered entirely in scales. 8 species existed globally. 4 in Asia, of the genus Manus. 4 in Africa, of the genera Smutsia and Phatagenus. All 8 species were listed on the IUCN Red List, ranging from vulnerable to critically endangered. Not a single exception. It was a solitary creature, active only at night. No group behavior, no territorial calls. Its only social interaction was a brief encounter during mating season. Its diet was extremely narrow. Ants and termites. It had no teeth. It fed by inserting a sticky tongue up to 40 centimeters long into insect colonies. When threatened, its instinct was to curl into a tight ball, scales facing outward, shielding its soft belly. This defense strategy had worked for tens of millions of years. Even leopards and lions struggled to pry it open. But against humans, this strategy failed completely. A curled pangolin. The poacher simply had to bend down and pick it up, drop it in a sack. So what did humans want from them? The answer was in the scales. We ran compositional analysis on seized scale samples. The result was simple. Keratin. Keratin is an extremely common structural protein. Human fingernails, hair, rhino horns, all keratin. The pangolin's scales were chemically identical to the fingernails humans bit off and threw away. Yet in parts of the 21st century world, traditional medicine systems attributed curative properties to pangolin scales, promoting lactation, reducing swelling, draining abscesses. None of these claims were ever verified by modern science. Demand drove supply. Asian pangolin populations collapsed first. When Asian supplies ran dry, trafficking networks pivoted to Africa. Intercontinental smuggling routes were established. From West Africa to Southeast Asia. From Central Africa to East Asia. We found extensive seizure records in port databases. Single raids yielding tons of scales. 1 ton of scales represented thousands of pangolin lives. Around 2014, international conservation organizations began calling the pangolin the world's most trafficked mammal. Once that label appeared, it was never removed. But change was also happening. In 2020, China officially removed pangolin from the traditional Chinese medicine pharmacopoeia. That same year, the pangolin was upgraded to Class 1 National Protected Animal. This meant any hunting, purchasing, or transporting of pangolins would face severe criminal penalties. This was a significant signal. One of the world's largest markets for pangolin products was actively closing the demand side. In 2016, CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, listed all 8 pangolin species under Appendix I, a complete ban on commercial international trade. Yet the ban did not fully stop the smuggling. Black market prices actually rose due to scarcity. In some markets, a kilogram of scales exceeded the price of the same weight in silver. This was a pattern we saw repeatedly in 21st century species data. Protection level rises. Prices rise. Smuggling increases rather than decreases. Between law and market, there was a gap that could not be easily closed. Looking back 1,000 years later, what silenced our research team was an evolutionary paradox. The pangolin scales were the only weapon natural selection had given it. Tens of millions of years of evolution, all for this one layer of armor. No venom, no speed, no sharp fangs. All it had was the ability to curl up. All it had were its scales. And it was precisely this armor that made it the most coveted prey in the human trade chain. Evolution gave it the best defense it could. Humans turned that defense into its death sentence. We preserved one piece of footage in the archive. A pangolin walking slowly under infrared light at night. Its long tongue probing a termite mound. It didn't know it was being filmed. It didn't know it was the world's most trafficked mammal. It was simply alive, quietly, alone, the way its ancestors had been for tens of millions of years. If you lived in that era, you might never have seen a living pangolin in your entire life. But on some night you never knew about, it was out there in a forest somewhere, curled into a ball, protecting itself with its armor. It didn't know that wouldn't work.